This is how the fog looks on 2000 render on the test server. The sun is white here. See? It should make the sun yellow or a different color because it's the same as the default crosshair. Just makes things confusing. This is the color of the grass on test server. It needs to be darker green. And this is the color of leaves on the test server. Again, they need to be darker green. This is where the new shipment yard is, in my opinion. It should be further south, because if you get the spawn that I just got, but more westward, and you get it between that strip and that compound, you're late to this spawn. So devs, if you can, put this a little bit further south and it'd be good. To build on what I said earlier, the shipment yard is too far north, in my opinion. Here's a bug. This molly never either exploded or triggered in the first place. Daybreak should provide an option, and Daybreak should allow players to hide the box below that says field bandage and then the stats for the bandage, in my opinion. The carrying and proximity boxes where the loot would appear should be made bigger as a result, and maybe you should you could add a scroll wheel in case the boxes get filled up so we can see what's at the very bottom of the loot UI. Here's the main problem I have with guns in H1Z1 at the moment. If one looks at the AK, just holding down left click, you get a vertical spray pattern. As you can see right here. The vertical spray pattern meaning there's some type of skill gap. It takes some type of skill to be able to control this recoil to kill opponents. Whereas with the AR, if you just spam left click as fast as you can, you're either going to get a horizontal recoil or it's going to be a laser beam essentially. Especially if you stray from side to side, which takes away any type of skill gap. Why use the AK when you can use a gun that has this type of recoil? As you can clearly see, the gun didn't stray from where I originally shot. And if you just simply stray from side to side, you're pretty much shooting people with a laser beam, essentially. So, Daybreak, please remove this horizontal recoil from the AR and give it vertical recoil. You're halfway there. If I were to hip fire this gun, it does have vertical recoil, which makes no sense as ADS has horizontal. So might as well just both give them vertical recoil pattern similar to this. Another issue I have with guns in this game is how accurate hipfire is. What I mean by that is the first shot, hipfire wise, will always 100% be perfectly straight. And I'll show that right now. Alright, so that's the first shot. It's perfectly straight. Another problem is that hipfire is way too accurate. This is just me hip firing randomly. Now, the first few bullets are close within each other, and it doesn't take much to make hip fire become essentially like a straight line. All you gotta do is stray from side to side like this. Now, it's not a straight line as I said, but if you imagine your opponent being here, this is your opponent's torso. You're essentially hitting like every shot that you take. I think that hipfire should be nerfed, and instead of a pattern such as this one, when you strafe, you should always, the first shot should never be accurate. You should always get some type of wide pattern. So like your first shot, you might aim here, and then it winds up right here, and then the second shot maybe up here, and the next up here. Something unpredictable that does not allow players to just strafe and laser beam people. Doors should always open away from you. So right now it's opening towards me, whereas it should be doing this, opening away, whether it be from this side or the other. Frag grenades, stun grenades, mollies, they're things that should affect players on the other side of walls. In other words, these explosives should go through walls. They currently do not, as I'll show right now. See, I wasn't affected because I stood behind this wall, whereas I should have been blown up. Alright, so this is a test of the weapon block being this circle that usually would appear when you're pressed up against walls. From the looks of it, it's gone. They got rid of it. Like my gun is in the wall and there's no weapon block anymore, which is good, but at the same time, they should have. I agree with them getting rid of the weapon block. Thank you, Daybreak, for doing that. Now, the main problem and the reason why it was put in the game is because your not only your character model but weapons clip through walls, you know. So my gun is on the other side, and sometimes your hand might clip through the wall and you get shot in the hand. That's something that still needs to be fixed. It's been in the game since release. These are things that if Daybreak were to fix would go a long way towards improving the game. So thank you, Daybreak, for getting rid of the weapon block. It's no longer there, but the issue of clipping, you know, your body clipping, is still there. So please do not bring back the weapon block. That's not a fix. That's just a band-aid. Please do fix the issue. Here's an issue that's been in the game for a while, just as I was talking about weapon block. If your gun pokes out through a wall of some sort, your bullets, at least with the shotgun, the pellets, wind up above you. Again, this is a problem because one, your gun could clip through a wall, and two, the pellets get above. So this is where the pellets end up. Footsteps should be louder. Yes, I know that Crocs make you almost silent, but I feel that compared to the other sounds in the game, footsteps are too quiet. They should be louder. A few words on movement in this game. It feels like your character is on ice, and what I mean by that is the constant gliding. If you were to stray from right to left, your character does glide. There's no smooth movement. Same occurs if you're going left and you go up, or right and go back. Your character in a way glides. It should be to where, you know, I like what they did with the movement. You know, it feels a little better, but one of the main critiques that I've had for a while is that your character is always essentially in the same position. So if you look at the right arm of the character, it's towards the back, and then the left shoulder is pointed, you know, facing upward, right? There's no shift in the hips. There's no smooth shift in the hips when you're holding weapons. Now, when you don't have weapons, it's a lot smoother. Your character's hips are moving, the shoulders are changing position, but essentially when you're holding weapons, it's the same stance all the time. And I think that it should be a lot more fluid instead of just having ADS occur in this way. If I were ADSing the other way, then the gun would be held in the opposite direction. This happens in PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds. It's something that I like that they've done, and I think H1 should adopt, because that would bring about smoother movement, more fluid movement, less clunky And please, if possible, get rid of this gliding. Smoothing this out. This is not helpful at all. It's very clunky. So I hope Daybreak gets that fixed, because if they do, it's gonna go a long way towards making combat in the game a lot more enjoyable. Another thing that comes to mind is strafe ADS. So as your character strafing, if you notice the speed at which he's moving at the moment, once your character strafes, he goes very slow, and this slows down the pace of the game. This should be faster. The character should be moving faster. A few words on jumping in this game. In Z2, jumping is a lot more delayed. It's a lot clunkier. In Z1, the jumping felt very arcadey. It gave the game a sense of quick movement, smooth movement, and allowed for players to outplay opponents because it was so responsive, it was so smooth, it felt good. There was little delay. In Z2, as your character jumps, as you can see, there's a delay. There's always a delay. There's always a delay. And your character, it's just a very awkward jump. In Z1, it was a more elevated from point A to point B being straight up. Whereas this is more hunched back and slow and clunky. So Daybreak, I hope you guys address this. Please get rid of this delay. And make jumping a lot smoother. You used to be able to outplay somebody jumping, you know, from side to side, and now it's clunky. It's a lot slower, and I hope this gets addressed. Alright, so this is a test of the shotgun. The dev said that they made changes to it, so the shotgun, fully functioning, consistent, should have the same pellet pattern every time I shoot. Because all I'm going to be doing is moving horizontally, nothing else should change. The pellet pattern should remain the same. As you can see here, these two spray patterns or pellet patterns are the most consistent. This is how it would appear every time, but as you can see here, there's missing pellets, and these missing pellets are what caused the inconsistency with this gun. Now what I would suggest, instead of having so many pellets, is having a slug that is the size, that is the diameter of all these pellets, that upon making contact, if the slug makes contact with another player, it's lethal if they're not wearing armor. That would get rid of having to worry about some pellets missing and resulting in maybe doing just 10 HP damage, 90 HP damage instead of being lethal, as would be the case with this type of pellet setup. So this is at a cop car's distance away. Currently with the shotgun, you have to land a point blank shot to kill somebody, but because of high ping and situations such as that, you might be moving to the side, or your opponent might be moving to the side, and on your screen they're right in front of you, but on their screen they are perhaps to the left, perhaps to the right, so that when you do shoot them, in reality you're shooting like half of their body. Now with the current shotgun, you have to land a shot directly in front. All your pellets have to hit in order for it to be a kill. The problem with the shotgun right now is that some pellets disappear. They either wind up on the floor or above, who knows, but they don't land. So what I would suggest is that instead of pellets, Daybreak uses a slug that is the size of the spray pattern that I showed earlier. So then that way, even if you were to shoot your opponent and let's say the slug is this size, half of the slug hits, as long as any part of the slug hits, it'd be a lethal hit. The reason for that being because of desync. On your screen, you might shoot somebody point blank in the chest as they're moving to the side, and on their screen, you actually shot half of their body, which results in you not getting a kill. Currently with the pellets. Now, if it was a slug, any contact from the slug with an opponent, whether it's point blank or half the body, would be lethal at this range. You put another cop car, just imagine another cop car, so like about this range. At this range, the shotgun, slug, or pellets, if they still decide to use those, should have drop off. So in no way, shape, or form, if I were to shoot an opponent from here, would they be injured at all. The pellets themselves or the slug would fall off so much that they'd fall to the floor, unaffecting, you know, an opponent. And that would ensure that you can't snipe with the shotgun, although the slug or pellets would be powerful, but instead it's the best gun up close.